There's a corner of Canada where the housing market didn't just miss the memo, it threw it in the ocean. While the rest of the country is arguing about bidding wars and micro-condos, Newfoundland is quietly offering something that feels impossible in 2026. Real houses, real land, real space, for less than the price of a used pickup. And today, I'm going to show you 7 of them. 7 actual listings. 7 real properties, some overlooking the Atlantic, some tucked into quiet coves, some with more bedrooms than you have friends, all under 100,000 Canadian dollars. But before you start packing your bags, understand this. Newfoundland doesn't sell you a house. It sells you a lifestyle, one with storms, with silence, with neighbors who know your name before you know theirs. One where the ocean isn't a view, it's a personality. Some of these homes are move-in ready. Some need vision. One of them has a backyard that looks like a postcard. Another has a price tag that feels like a typo. And one of them has a catch so big you'll either fall in love instantly or close the tab. We're going from most expensive to least expensive. And trust me, the cheapest one on this list is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the Canadian housing market. Let's start with the first property. And fair warning, the location alone might hook you before the price does. Number 1. 1303 Main Road, Dunnville, the house with the unexpected twist. We start in Dunnville, a community that looks quiet on the surface. But the first property on our list has something most sub-$100,000 homes don't. It's actually move-in ready. No collapsing floors. No bring a flashlight and a prayer. This one is clean, modernized, and sitting right on the main road. 1303 Main Road is listed at 99,900 Canadian dollars. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a layout that feels surprisingly open for a Newfoundland home of this age. The listing highlights updated flooring, a bright kitchen, and a living room that gets real natural light. Not the one small window facing a shed situation you sometimes get in rural properties. But here's the part that caught my attention. The backyard. It's huge, flat, usable, a rare thing in a province where half the land is rock and the other half is sloped. Dunnville is part of the Placentia area, which means you're close to schools, groceries, and the necessities that many outports simply don't have. You're also only about 1.5 hours from St. John's, close enough for a Costco run, far enough to feel like you've escaped the noise. The catch? This is a flood-prone region. Placentia Bay has a history with storm surges, and while the listing doesn't mention issues, the area itself has a reputation. If you're risk-averse, this might be a pause moment. But if you want a house under $100,000 that doesn't need a full rebuild, this is one of the strongest starts you could ask for. And the next house? It looks normal from the outside until you see what's behind it. Number 2. 25 Freshwater Crescent. Freshwater, the one with the view you didn't expect. Freshwater is tiny, a place where the ocean is always close, even when you can't see it. But at 25 Freshwater Crescent, you can see it, and not just a sliver between 2 houses. A real, wide-open view. This home is listed at 99,000 Canadian dollars. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a classic Newfoundland saltbox silhouette. Inside, it's simple but well-kept. Clean walls, updated flooring, and a kitchen that doesn't look like it's been untouched since 1974. But the real selling point is the lot. The backyard opens up to a sweeping view of the hills and water, the kind of view people pay millions for in British Columbia. Here, it's included in a house that costs less than a new Toyota Corolla. Freshwater is minutes from Placentia, which means you get the quiet of a rural community with the convenience of a larger town right next door. Groceries, gas, restaurants, all within a short drive. The catch? Freshwater is peaceful, very peaceful. If you need nightlife, this isn't your place. If you need silence, space, and a view that resets your brain every morning, this might be the one. And if you think this view is good, wait until you see the next property, the one sitting on one of the most famous islands in Newfoundland. Number 3, 126 Main Street, Fogo Island. The one people dream about without realizing it. Exists, Fogo Island isn't just a location, it's a personality. A stubborn, beautiful, weather-beaten personality that refuses to be anything other than itself. And 126 Main Street sits right in the middle of it. Listed at 95,900 Canadian dollars, this is a classic 2-story Newfoundland home. 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and that unmistakable outport architecture that looks like it was designed to survive a century of Atlantic wind. Because it was. The listing calls it a welcoming home nestled in the heart of iconic Fogo Island. And for once, the listing isn't exaggerating. You're steps from the water, minutes from the artist studios that made this island famous, and surrounded by a community that treats newcomers with a mix of curiosity and quiet acceptance. Inside, the house is simple but solid. Bright rooms, traditional layout, and that cozy, lived-in feeling that tells you families have passed through here for generations. But here's the pattern interrupt. Fogo Island is ferry only. Miss the last sailing? You're staying the night. Storm rolls in, you're not going anywhere. For some people, that's a deal breaker. For others, it's the whole point. And if you think Fogo Island is remote, wait until you see what's waiting in Placentia. Number 4. 180 Freshwater Crescent, Placentia, the house that looks ordinary until you see the inside. Placentia is one of those towns where the landscape does most of the talking. Rolling hills, ocean air, and a history that goes back to the 1500s. But 180 Freshwater Crescent is interesting for a different reason. It's listed at 89,900 Canadian dollars, and from the outside, it looks like a standard Newfoundland bungalow. But step inside and the tone shifts. The interior is surprisingly modern. Updated flooring, clean walls, bright kitchen, and a layout that feels more open than the exterior suggests. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a basement with potential, and a yard that gives you space without giving you maintenance nightmares. But here's the twist. Placentia is one of the most weather-exposed towns on the Avalon Peninsula. Storm surges, heavy winds, and the kind of winter that makes you question your life choices at least twice a year. Yet people stay because the community is strong, the scenery is unreal, and the cost of living is still shockingly low. This house is for someone who wants a balance. Not fully rural, not fully urban, but somewhere in between. A place where you can breathe but still get groceries without driving an hour. And the next house? It's in the same region, but the story behind it is completely different. Number 5. 4 Everly's Hill, Freshwater, the one that feels bigger than it looks. Freshwater shows up on this list again, but this time, the vibe is completely different. 4 Everly's Hill is listed at 89,000 Canadian dollars, and from the outside, it looks like a compact traditional Newfoundland home. But step inside and the space opens up in a way you don't expect. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a bright, clean interior with updated finishes and a layout that feels surprisingly functional. The kitchen is modern, the living room has that warm, I could actually live here energy, and the whole place feels like someone cared for it. But the real surprise is the lot. This house sits on a hill, which means elevation, which means views, which means you're not staring at your neighbor's siding every morning. You get sky, you get space. You get that quiet, freshwater stillness that feels like time slows down a little. Freshwater is minutes from Placentia, so you're not isolated. You get the peace without sacrificing access to groceries, gas, or a coffee when you need one. The catch? The house is older, and while it's been updated, you'll still find quirks. Uneven corners, older insulation, the usual Newfoundland charm. If you want perfection, this isn't it. If you want character, this is a contender. And the next house? It's bigger, brighter, and has a twist you won't see coming. Number 6. 9 Cabot Street, Placentia, the one that should cost more than it does. Placentia returns, and 9 Cabot Street is one of those listings that makes you double-check the price to make sure it isn't missing a digit. Listed at 85,500 Canadian dollars, this home offers 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a layout that feels open, bright, and surprisingly modern. The kitchen is updated, the living room gets real, natural light. The bedrooms are clean and functional, and the whole house feels like it's been maintained by someone who actually cared. But here's the part that stands out: the location. Cabot Street sits in a quiet residential pocket of Placentia, close to services, close to the water, and close to the kind of scenery that makes people fall in love with Newfoundland in the first place. This is the kind of house that works for almost anyone: retirees, remote workers, small families, or someone who just wants a place that doesn't need a full renovation before you can sleep in it. The catch? Placentia weather. If you know, you know. But if you want a clean, functional home under $90,000 in a town with real services, this is one of the strongest picks on the list. And now, we reach the final property, the one with the most surprising lifestyle perk of all. Number 7. 14 Logwood Drive, Fortune, the one where you can have breakfast in Canada and lunch in France. Fortune is a small town with a big secret. It's the gateway to Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, a French overseas territory just 90 minutes away by ferry. And 14 Logwood Drive listed at 84,900 Canadian dollars, puts you right next to that international connection. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a century-old home with character, history, and the kind of charm you can't fake. The listing highlights original woodwork, traditional proportions, and that unmistakable "people lived real lives here" feeling. Inside, the home is warm and inviting. The rooms are well kept, the layout makes sense. And the price? It feels unreal for what you're getting. But the real selling point is the lifestyle. You can literally wake up in Newfoundland, hop on a ferry, and be eating croissants in France before noon. No other town in North America offers that. The catch? Fortune is remote, 3.5 hours from St. John's. Limited jobs, aging population, winters that test your patience and your snow shovel. But if you want history, affordability, and the ability to casually say, "I'm popping over to France this afternoon," this is the one. And that brings us to the end of the list. 7 homes, 7 chances, 7 very different ways to rethink what affordable means in Canada. Owning a home in Canada has become a fantasy for a lot of people, something you talk about, not something you actually expect to achieve. But these 7 houses prove that the dream isn't dead everywhere. It just moved east to a place where the ocean still decides the weather, where communities still know how to take care of each other, and where a mortgage doesn't have to feel like a life sentence. None of these homes are perfect. The winters are real, the distances are real, the quirks are real. But so is the freedom, the kind you only get when you trade convenience for space, noise for quiet, and stress for something that feels a lot like breathing again. 7 houses, 7 chances to rewrite what affordable means. And every one of them is a reminder that the Canadian housing market isn't broken everywhere, just everywhere else. So the only question left is simple: which one would you choose? And what's stopping you from making it real?